All right, Tane, welcome to the podcast. We've got a lot to unpack. So for the audience's sake, why don't you just take a second, introduce yourself, and explain what you've been up to, and then we'll get into what we're here to discuss.
Sounds good, man. Thank you for having me. Longtime coach, Brandon. My first coach that's made a huge impact on my life and as well as many others. So for those of you that's never seen our past interviews, I'm an agent over here in the Virginia Beach area, I guess you could say, technically Hampton Roads. But yeah, I'm in the Virginia Beach, Virginia area. I got into the business in August 2019 as a full-time agent. I pretty much went all in full-time, quit my W-2 job as IT director that I was at for 5-6 years. Essentially was there 5-6 years, bought a house down here in Virginia, quit my job, and then went full-time here in Virginia in a state where I knew nobody. So essentially no sphere of influence or anything like that. And found you through another coach, Ricky Cruz's podcast. And you just happened to click with me. And yeah, since from that time to now, I've sold over 150 something homes. I would say about like 47 or 48 million in volume. If not, it might be even 50 by this time. But yeah, so now I'm with I was with EXP Realty for the past, essentially since I went full time, and just made the switch recently to LPT Realty. And this is where I'm looking to grow my business and build a team. Essentially, I got my own office space now since when we last talked. I got my full-time assistant and bringing on agents. So essentially now looking to build a team and go from there.
I love it. Yeah, you have come a long way. I mean, I seriously, I can think back, Tane, to the conversation where we're talking about you converting your first listing, your first for sale by owner, to right now. I mean, so almost $50 million in sales. I mean, you've come a long way. You've got a lot to share, and you've got a lot to teach other agents that will join your team now and in the future. So let's get into this a little bit. So you were with, you recently left EXP to join LPT Realty. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. First, let's rewind. What had you, of all the companies out there, you landed at EXP when you went full time. What attracted you to that model in the first place?
Yeah, I'm very forward thinking in regards to. Oh,
you're good. I just changed the screen on this side. You're good.
I thought I lost you. So I've always been. I mean, a little bit of my background. I grew up someone like you, middle class and whatnot. Never had money and whatnot. None of my family members, before they never invested. My parents never taught us about investing or anything like that. Retirement, all that. EXP caught my attention because of the stock programs that they had, and as well the revenue share to make the passive income. So I've always been really into passive income, and as well the thoughts of retiring one day and having like a nest egg. So that's what attracted me to EXP, was literally the idea of the stocks they provided, and as well the revenue share for passive income. And really passive income wasn't really in my mind in the beginning in regards to revenue share, because I was just focused on production, and the stocks part was really what it got me interested in.
Got it. Okay. So you were there for the last 2 or 3 years, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, three and a half years. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so you have said some things over the past that I like. That I think a lot of people that go to a model like that are attracted for the same reasons. However, you have always made it clear that your focus has been on production, selling houses. Because I think one of the downfalls with that model is because it does attract a lot of people that want to go there to build rev share, and they forget that they have to, in order for the whole thing to work, they got to sell some houses. And so one of the downfalls that I have seen is people will go, big influencers or big leaders will go to EXP, and they'll do a great job recruiting agents into their downline. But those agents sometimes don't get the support that they need to sell houses because they didn't go there to recruit. They went there to sell real estate. And
Yeah.
so I guess I want to talk about that first, because that's like kind of what it is that I hear, right? From the agent that is focused on building their business selling houses. They don't even understand recruiting and downline and rev share. That's not why they are in the business. Can
Yeah.
you speak to that? Is there any truth to that? What do you see from the standpoint of agents going to companies like that to grow their business?
Yeah, I absolutely loved EXP, and I was quite happy there, especially because I've hit their top icon thing every time pretty much. Um, but yeah, there is definitely something in regards to that aspect because there is a good amount of recruiters in EXP that don't sell production and that don't pay towards cap. And yeah, I do think that some of the downsides that newer agents specifically, don't have as well, where they get attracted by the revenue share aspect of it, and just forget that really your production is what's going to get you by. Don't get me wrong, there's a good amount of great training in EXP, hosted by icon agents that are people producing like I think it's 35 or 40 plus deals a year, whatnot, something like that, right? And um, but it's not similar. So I mean, Brandon, so like you got a brick and mortar brokerage, right? So like I was with one in New York part time, and as a part time agent, I never really got to utilize the people in the brick and mortar or anything like that. So I don't know that experience aspect of it at the brick and mortar, where I feel like that's where you'll be able to get a little more support, but at the same time, virtually you can get it done too. And I think it really comes down to the person, right? That you are, because one of the things that I used to set the expectation with people joining the EXP, for new agents especially, I would make them aware, like, hey, DXP is not for you. If you need me literally to hold your hand throughout the entire process of becoming an agent, like a top agent, right? Or even just
Right.
closing deals, because that's where the struggle is. But then for people like myself, where, if you get, I don't really need to be babysat or anything like that. So it's like, because I've brought people on that got great sales skills, but they needed that office environment to essentially feel productive, I guess you could say. Because I mean, that's why I got the office space, because I do feel like I get more production done in my actual office. So it's tough because I do think there's pros and cons of both models, the cloud brokerage and as well the brick and mortar. But I also know there's people like with the Keller Williams model, where they got like people love their culture that they have there too, even though the cap's a little more and whatnot. But there's newer agents that they love the aspect of someone being there, that they can physically see, do this, shadow them, and all that.
Yeah.
So I think both models, there's pros and cons of both.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you hit the nail on the head, because I think it just depends on the person.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what it comes down to. And so you recently, like a lot of others that I'm seeing, a lot of top producers are leaving EXP, and going to Real or going to LPT Realty. You went to LPT Realty, which is what I want to unpack in this conversation. I want to talk about, how you came to that decision, why you made that decision. What was it that you said, okay, I'm going to leave EXP? Because yeah, everything I hear and see, people are happy with EXP. So what made you change and leave to go to LPT?
there's a lot of factors, but really, like I said, I love EXP, but there's some stuff I'm coming to find out after I left. Like, all right, I'm like, I don't want to unpack here, but there's some stuff that's questionable now. But really, for me, LPT Realty was founded by Robert Palmer. He owns RP Funding, which is a billion-dollar mortgage industry company, and then he owns other businesses as well. And one of the businesses, Listing Power Tools. So that's pretty much a real estate marketing company that formed into LPT Realty now at this point. And for me, being more listing heavy and as well being more production heavy, LPT was almost a no-brainer because they've put things in place to try their best to essentially um, prevent what's happened at other models, which is essentially where recruiters are going haywire. Like they're just there, not paying towards the cap or anything like that, just recruiting nonstop. But then there's people, and there's people like me that's actually in production that's now starting to dive more into revenue share to sell, start impacting other people as well. It's a little tougher. It's not a fair playing field because they're constantly, literally full-time recruiters that's built out all these systems. Sometimes they even lie about certain production numbers. I've seen a lot of people lie about production numbers to bring people on into the revenue share in this company, organization essentially. But with LPT Realty, I saw the vision of what Robert Palmer essentially why he created it was we saw what he saw was there was a trend of people leaving. They'll go to 100% brokerage, right, and then essentially newer agents, whatnot, and then they'll have the brick and mortar at the 100%, and then once they're fully developed, they'll eventually transition to one of these models, Keller Williams, Real, EXP, whatever it is. They'll transition over to it, and it's you got the 80-20 split, whatever that model is. So what he thought about is, wait, why don't we just combine the two and make it into all one under the same roof essentially, right? Because that was one thing that he kept seeing is people from the other companies, newer agents, they would join these models, wouldn't work out, join a local brokerage or either 100% commission brokerage, that is where you can go in house, and he's like, okay, let's make it all under one roof. So it's the first hybrid model that's essentially offering 100% commission with no setup fees, no desk fees, no monthly fees whatsoever. And same thing and they also offer the revenue share model, the 80-20, but with the 15K cap, and the same exact thing, no sign-up fees, no setup fees, no monthly fees, no desk fees. And the company only makes money when the agents make money, which I thought was amazing. Because the way I'm looking at it, I have seen that migration as well from agents that will join EXP, and then eventually they'll end up leaving to go to a more, I guess, afford, because EXP's fees aren't anything crazy. It's
Right.
$85 a month, and then you have these other miscellaneous fees during their transaction and the 20% cap. But it made perfect sense to me. Why make everybody conform to the 80-20 model when the 80-20 model is for the people that's really looking for the revenue share, right? And then as a newer agent, you're not really benefiting from that. So with this, you have options. As a new agent, you simply join, the business builder model, which is 100% commission, capped at $5,000, and it's $500 per transaction. And you have your one payment that you just do your first transaction of the year, which is $500. That covers your entire E&O and all the other miscellaneous fees that used to come with other brokerages, so they'll cover that. And then you have your $195 transaction fee that you can charge to your client essentially, right?
Got it.
So I saw that where you can start off as a newer agent, because if I started off with this model from the beginning, I can only imagine where I would be at this time being, because you start off with 100%, and then you have access to an app where it shows you as people join, you can see how much revenue share you could possibly make, and you can simply switch over to revenue share model versus having to leave that brokerage to go to a revenue share model, right? And they also offer stocks. Obviously, the stocks right now is not public, but once they go public, the people that joined early, such as myself and others, they're going to be reaping the benefits, right? And some of the things that they've created within the model that I really liked to kind of deter the recruiters I was telling you about, at this model, in order for you to earn revenue share, you need to pay towards the cap. So for a recruiter at EXP or any other model, they can simply join, not pay towards the cap or anything like that, and essentially just recruit nonstop, gain revenue share. It's not fair for producers that are actually going out there paying towards the cap, right, and all not being able to go all in on the recruiting that they're doing, right? So with this model, this is where it discourages recruiters, where essentially you can't earn revenue share until you pay towards that $15,000 cap. And it also has a buffer. When you first join, you have 120 days until you can earn revenue share. So it's also made it to a point where it's, again, trying to deter as much as possible. And I don't know how they're going to monitor this part, but this part right here, they also did where you can't provide anything of value for somebody to join your organization. So what this did was for people to just focus on sales and then and provide value to the company aspect to be able to get people to join, right? I don't know how they'll monitor that, but they're trying, right? And one kicker that I saw is they have what's called Recruit Assist. Recruit Assist is essentially they have corporate recruiters in-house. So when you close a deal, I close a deal with you, Brandon. Once our deal closes, the corporate recruiter will reach out to you via call, text, email, and also send you pretty much like a mailer, thank you. And then you'll go into their follow-up sequence where that person will get pitched by corporate recruiter to essentially join underneath you. So
That's awesome.
For me, yeah. So there's a ton of value. And, for me as a producer, I'm like, okay, if I just keep closing deals, I close 70-something deals, and then next thing you know, you'll probably have 10, 15 people just from that effort alone. So I was like, all right, because I still want to focus on sales, but at the same time, as my business becomes more sustainable, I can grow and help out other agents as well. So that's really what caught my attention. But to top it off, Brandon, let me show you this, because this is really so. One thing that I've always procrastinated on is door knocking. All right, I've done it in the beginning, but one thing I procrastinate on is door knocking because of how hard it is to get all the material. And then this is the listing power pack. So I'm going door knocking tomorrow, and this is literally with every single listing for absolutely free. You got literally, it took me about 12, 14 clicks. I got a bunch of mailers, door hangers, a sign writer with text code specifically for that listing. And you got business cards with the listing information on it, so you can hand to the homeowner and essentially say, "Hey, we're in this together. Please feel free to share this with your friends and family because it has your house information on it as well." So what that will do is they'll pass it around to their friends and family maybe, and then there's more eyes on your brand from just simply that free marketing that you get.
Yeah, so, it's great. Well said. I mean, there's a lot there that you just kind of shared with the audience. And, I was telling you over text, I used to use listing power tools a long time ago. And I not only used it for lead generation, but what I found it more useful for, and you reminded me to talk about it even more. Do they offer the service outside of agents that are not at the company, or is it just for agents at the company now? Do you know?
They do. It's $3.99 a month.
Yeah. So what we used to use it for is more on the lead conversion side. So we would bring it to a listing appointment so the seller could see an example of some of the things that we do to help set ourselves apart from our competitors, because nobody's showing up to a listing presentation with a box like that, right? Yep. And you can unpack it all, and the seller's like, "Oh my gosh!" So, dude, that's really cool. So. Yeah, it's tangible. So a couple questions. Let's unpack some of this. So, I think that, when you look at these models, right? I mean, obviously, again, it attracts a lot of people because the idea of building revenue share on a passive income is very appealing to a lot of people. But there's the 80-20 principle, right? Like in anything else in life. And so with these models, you got, and it's probably not even 20%, but you have maybe 10% of the people at the top that are generating 80-90% of all the rev share, right? And so if you look at EXP, I don't know, you probably know, you know the numbers way better than me. I have no idea. But if I had to guess, there's probably a handful of people that are doing like really well, like substantial life-changing money. And then there's a bunch of people that are making peanuts. You know what I mean? Is that true? Like, so what I mean by that is, let's look at, let's say $1 million net taxable income off rev share. Do you know how many people at EXP are earning more than $1 million taxable income?
In regards to sales or revenue?
No. Just rev share.
Just rev share. Oh, so yes, I do know that. So there is about around 40.
Okay, so let's just stick with that for a second. So kind of here's my point. All right, so there's, I don't know, what are they, close to 100,000 agents now?
They're at 86, 87.
Okay, so let's just look at that. So call it, so there's 40 out of 87,000. So there's 0.0004% of people that make more than $1 million in rev share. Stick with me. My point is this: how many team leaders that have sales production teams that make $1 million or more in income? Well, there's thousands. I mean, literally, there's thousands. So my question for you, and I don't know if you've thought about this or not, I ask this question to everybody that gets attracted to these models. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just focus on building a sales team at 100% commission brokerage where the margins are way bigger and it's probably easier to get there versus going to build a rev share model? Like, have you thought about that? Like,
I have thought about that, and this is, where I always think about worst case scenarios, right? I like the fact that it's at ground level, and I like the idea of building it, right? And like for me, again, it comes down to like the stocks aspect of it. So like I get it. People always say, "Oh, you can just always go buy stocks," right? But with EXP, the way they had it set up was essentially you get it at 10% off as an agent. You're buying it through each transaction, right? So that's automatically you're going to be above market. And then with this as well, I'm taking that risk of at ground level. If this thing does take off, they're giving you a ton of rewards right now for early adopters, and especially with the stocks, right? So that's one thing that you won't get like the 100% aspect of it. But yeah, you're right in regards to that aspect where you could just simply focus in on growing your production sales team, right? But I like the fact what LPT has done is, one of the biggest struggles of building the network throughout every other state is that 80-20 split aspect of it.
Sure.
Right? Because as you have your EXP split, even at the reduced team split they have, which is 8,000, it's still, some people can't handle it.
It's a cap on top of a cap. You're saying for an agent that's on a team.
You got the team cap, and then you got as I start building the team, and I'm going around the EXP market, and don't get me wrong, there's a ton of people doing it successfully. Like they're crushing it, right?
Yeah.
But like the way I was looking at it, I kept thinking about myself, and this is one of the things that I'm working on improving on. I just kept thinking to myself, like, I can't do this to somebody like where I'm taking this amount, and then it's like, cause and so with LPT, that was a really neat thing about you can have people in other states at 100% commission model. And by the way, Brandon, one thing I forgot to share is you get revenue share from the 100% people as well. So it's a lot smaller, right? But the way I look at it is this thing will grow, like blow up in volume. It's only been around for 11 months and they're at 3,000 some agents already, right? And other brokerages that's been around for 7-8 years, they're at 7,000-8,000 agents, similar models.
Right.
So the way I'm looking at it is as I'm growing right now, because I'm building people all across different states, right? You can have your own network set up, a team set up in other states through the brokerage's license, and the team members are under 100% model. I'm helping them start up the business, fund it, right? And then essentially be able to get a piece of the pie without killing them as well.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's a way to get into business. It's a way to have business partners, right? So when I looked at the model, you can be in business with agents, and the company's paying you to partner with other agents, not the agent. And so that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought was really cool. Because now it's made it a lot easier for me to go into these other states to help out agents as well grow their business, right? And it just the way I look at it too is just there is so much free marketing that they're providing. Like I did the numbers on just this alone, and I was like, okay, like I don't know what the numbers would have been if I had this last year and I went door knocking a lot heavier, but I know the conversion ratio is a lot higher. But I did close to 60 deals this past year, and with it, if I had this for every listing of mine, I had about 20-some thousand miles in marketing right there that I passed on, right? So as I grow the team, it helps me to be able to teach other agents to go door knocking, and they have everything ready to go, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, again, I'm in that stage right now where I want to build. And my worst case scenario, if shit hits the fan, things don't work out, I'll explore one of those models gladly, right? But the way I'm looking at it, like they've got the guy's very forward thinking. He's got homevalue.com, which he's starting to roll out in Florida, and essentially that's listing leads specifically for LPT agents.
Yeah.
So he's going to dish that around, and then if you want to close those deals, you just pay a 35% referral fee, just like you would at any other referral company.
Sure.
Right? He's also buying out Zillow zip codes for certain people, certain teams and whatnot to provide the same thing, 35%. So like that's what I'm excited for over here is as I grow, I want to be with a company that needs help growing as well because I can also reap the benefits. Same thing with anybody else that joins. Because in Virginia, at the end of Q1, they're aiming to launch those services, the homevalue.com, buying out some Zillow zip codes. And I've never been big on buying leads, but as I grow the business, I kind of see the importance of the marketing aspect and how if it's coming from the company and I could dish it out, why not, right?
Yeah.
Um, they're doing other stuff like billboards, radio show, like the old, like this. That's the one thing I like too. He's going, he's made so much money off of the mortgage industry doing some of the marketing that we're using. So it's like it's very elbow to elbow sales. Like
Yeah.
that's really what I love.
It's great, man. I know it's exciting. I understand exactly where you're at probably in your mind from the standpoint of like having the motor that you have to build a company and you're getting in so early. It makes sense for a guy like you to do it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So did you leave behind a big rev share that you were getting at EXP? Like those agents that were on your team, did they come with you? Like what did you have to leave in order to start this?
My car that was wrapped, that's currently being, and my car that was wrapped with EXP crap, that's currently in the shop right now, getting unwrapped.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's like $5,000 right there. My revenue share, it wasn't anything crazy. It was like $12,000 a year revenue share. That's one of the things that I didn't like that I found out about. I don't know if you know this or not, Brandon. The word up to is very intriguing how that can be used.
Yep.
Because for people that were in my rev share that was capping, I'm supposed to be getting up to $2,800 for them capping, but then come to find out it's actually $1,800. So do you know about that in the revenue share model?
No, I don't. But I'm not totally surprised. But tell me more.
It's interesting. It's apparently like a buffer. I had no idea about it until somebody shared with me. And that's one of the things too. Like I joined LPT with one of the Virginia founders of EXP. Essentially, he was one of the first people. He left behind a ton.
Sure.
That's somebody that I think you should connect with because he's built an organization where he had about like 200 people in his organization and making a ton off of revenue share. But he saw exactly what was going to happen with if he doesn't switch it up. It's essentially what's happening is all the agents like that aren't making, but they see this other option where, hey, you can do this and as well just simply switch over when you're ready to earn rev share.
Yeah, so that's great.
He ended up joining too. But yeah, I left, I didn't, just the rebranding aspect can be a pain in the butt, obviously. But the company actually covers, when you're at a production level, they'll cover rebranding majority of the cost behind it, which was cool. But overall, I think it's, nobody likes change,
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt changing any company. So, but you did it nonetheless. I mean, for all the reasons you just shared, I think it does make a lot of sense for you because I was genuinely curious, because I see a lot of people that I respect leaving EXP where just a short while ago, I mean, they were screaming from the mountaintops, EXP, and they had the big EXP flags and, wrapping their cars and they're leaving so by the droves, it seems like. So I'm like, man, what is happening over there? Because a lot of them are going to Real, a lot of them are going to LPT. Yeah. What would you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, so over here in my area, I'm like the number 2 or number 3 EXP. I was number 2 or number 3 EXP agent. So
okay.
like that's like, I was up there. And yeah, it's quite intriguing, but like, I'm very production heavy. And there's one thing I didn't even cover actually is, at EXP, when you hit the 15,000 and you close 20 more deals, you hit what's called Icon Agent. You get back $16,000 in stocks, and I've always been very stock driven, like the idea of a nest egg. But with this company, what they do differently is when you actually hit what's called Black Badge, which is 35 deals, which is nothing. You get back. They match you dollar for dollar up to $15,000 in marketing towards your business. So that was like another thing too, like where I'm currently at, I want to blow my business up to get it even bigger. And then this company, they're providing all this marketing and essentially like, that was like, I never thought about it that way, but like, hey, what if I reinvested the money, like instead of getting stocks, what if I just reinvested it right back into my business, get more active income to be able to do other stuff? So that was like
Yeah.
another thing that was really cool. Like I've never seen that where a company will match you dollar for dollar, $15,000 towards marketing to help grow your business even more. It's
Yeah, that's
sales.
cool. So where's like your EXP stock? Like what is the worth of that and what are you doing with that?
Yeah. So anything that's like awarded is 3 year vesting period. But everything else, it's uh, since the stocks went down a lot, it's like worth probably like 50 some thousand dollars in stocks.
Sure.
So I'm just
Okay.
having it sit there,
Yeah.
until it goes back up, and who knows, maybe I'll cash out one day. Go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah. So with LPT, do they have branches? And you said hybrid. Do they have branches all over the country or what does that look like?
So that's the interesting about them. Another thing I really like, it's they do this, like they did this very methodically, which is essentially right now we're just open in Florida, Texas, Virginia, North Carolina is about to be open, and same with Tennessee and Colorado.
Okay.
That's 6 states right there. 6 states right there. And they're doing it differently from other models, like the cloud brokerages like Real and EXP, where they just kind of went all over the states, right? And what they also, and this is where again those companies helped pave the way,
Sure.
and which allowed LPT to be able to see, okay, what did they do wrong that we can fix up on? So
True.
another thing they saw, opening in a bunch of different states actually hurt the growth because you need the infrastructure in place to be able to service those agents. Otherwise, your agent retention is going to shit the bed essentially,
Yeah.
right? So they're doing it literally state by state on wait list, which is really cool because the onboarding experience that you'll have is much better. And they know that once it opens it, there's a demand for it. And they're not just randomly open because his goal is really to make this the most profitable and essentially the most, the most worth business real estate company out there. And
Sure.
that's one of the reasons why he's getting into the lead generation as a real estate brokerage, because he also saw Zillow, all these other companies, they're not in the business of selling real estate, they're in the business of lead generating. So essentially, to make it worth the most valuable, combination of the lead gen and real estate combined. And by the time that we're planning on going public in 2 to 3 years, by that time, not all states will even be open yet, and that's going to be a selling point. Hey, this is what we're currently at before we go public, and this is how many agents we got. Just imagine what's going to happen once we open up in all 50 states and other countries. So that's like the thought process behind it. It was like, that's pretty cool. Like I never thought about it that way, of how much more successful your business would be if you just, same thing how we do. We
Yeah.
hone in on a lead source, go in, and then once you start like similar concept. So
Yeah.
I was pretty mind blown by that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool. So if do they have actual physical locations or is it up to like the leaders of the company to open up their own
So
offices?
sorry, I didn't even answer your question. The physical locations are actually, they have hubs. So like my office, for example, I'm chatting with them in regards to turning it into a hub
Mm.
where they'll cover certain expenses of mine as well. And then agents will be able to come in, use my office, do whatever they need to. And then there's another office that'll probably be in Virginia Beach area, right? Things like that. So these are things that, that's another thing that's different because with the other brokerages, they have the co-working spaces. You're
Yeah.
familiar with those?
Yes.
So the co-working spaces, they're great and all, but you got to register and
Yeah.
whatnot to go use it for an hour and whatnot. With the hubs, the company is going to cover a certain portion of my expenses. The agents can come in and out as they please, use the office during the office hours, and leave.
That's
So
cool.
that's how they're going to be working it out.
Yeah. So are you where did you end up with your sales team? Are you still focused on that or you just focus on expanding kind of your agent network with LPT?
So it's a combination of both. I have time blocked in my schedule to
Yeah.
essentially grow my sales team. So right now I'm one full-time assistant who's actually she's licensed as well, and she's actually transitioning to a full-time buyer's agent for me. I got another assistant coming in, and then I'm going to bring on another buyer's agent. But really, I'm just also expanding nationwide with the states that we currently are open to
Yeah.
bring in the organization and essentially provide value back to them.
Yeah, very
So,
cool.
on that.
Well, it's exciting, man. I think it's going to be just interesting because getting in early on these companies I think is the other thing people have learned, that if you're going to really make it big, you got to get in early, because that's what people saw at EXP. They're doing the same thing at Real. Now I see the same thing happening at LPT.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And here's the thing. It's like, I think a lot of people get real nervous. Like, what if it doesn't work? Who cares? I mean,
that's literally the way I looked at it. It's like, it's not the brokerage that's made me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wish you nothing but the best. I know a lot of agents in our community are I think joining up with you, teaming up with you at LPT, which is really cool to see. That's why I reached out to you, because I'm like, well, I want to see what these guys are up to. And so thank you for sharing that. And yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see LPT's growth over the next couple of years.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it as well. And thank you so much for having me. And again, thanks for everything. I mean, that literally your coaching is what's helped me take my business to the next level. So anytime someone reaches out, I highly recommend it. You know, that leads to the other thing, Brandon. It's just agents always reach out and ask if they should join or not. And a lot of people, if you're listening to this, like, just do the number. I don't know what your program costs right now, but it's just like, I mean, I've made over $1.2, $1.3 million in GCI in less than 3.5 years of doing this. And it's like, okay, I don't know the ROI on that of how much I paid, but I'm pretty damn sure I got a good ROI out of it.
So you're saying I should charge more, is what you're saying?
But yeah, if you're listening out there, if you're on like the fence, take the leap, man. It's all worth it.
I appreciate it, Tane. So yeah, if you guys, so how can people reach out to you? So if they want to learn more about LPT or joining your team, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on my Facebook or Instagram at Tane Lois. Otherwise, feel free to shoot me a text or give me a call at 757-277-3029. That's my preferred method. To shoot me a text or give me a call. Prefer a text.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Perfect. And I will, for everybody watching or listening to this, I will put all Tane's contact information in the description. So reach out to him. I trust him. He'll take care of you if you feel like joining up and joining his team. I think it'll be a smart move. And Tane, appreciate you jumping on the podcast today, my friend.
Thank you, man. Same as usual, man. Have a good one.